Jon.
Why do we believe in gods? That's what I was trying to get to, and what caused that. And so I basically start with all the popular religions in the world today, and realise they all come from quite a central point. And then if you just drill down, you eventually come to a point where there are no gods. Then you think, well, what are we thinking about? And then we try and find ritual behaviour. And then it basically concludes, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the video, that actually it seems like death is the key, where it caused such an emotional stirring within us that we thought there must be something there. And that's where we see the earliest ritual behaviours. And we can see that a show on Netflix recently about hominids burials in the back of a cave 300,000 years old. But we have what we call mortuary behaviour, mortuary rituals occurring longer ago than that, maybe 430,000 years ago is our oldest mortuary behaviour, where we see Neanderthals arranging the dead in a pit. And so we see that, and we know it's a ritual because people are deliberately placed, and very often they are then buried, which is another deliberate act. And where we see grave goods, then we know actually there's a deliberate thinking going on that these people need something in an afterlife. And so that must mean there is some kind of what we would consider religious thinking going on.
With also and I'm curious actually also, just because I don't get to hear you talk about it maybe too much, what you draw from that as humans and us as a society. We now are distant from death, majority of us in our daily life. We don't have to think about it. And what spirituality means, and I'm just so curious of what could be real and what could be so, because if they're having a hard time dealing with death, are they perhaps, do they know something else? Did they deal with something else? What sort of conclusion at all have you possibly drawn, if you could?
Yes, as you raised some good points there. So the first one is, in this modern day, death to us, certainly in the modern world, is really removed from our ancestors. So most people today die in hospital in a cold, non-familiar environment, and the family isn't necessarily around you. And how awful is that, to die like that, compared to dying at home with your family around you? And so we have to get into a mindset of that. So if death is a thing where your family's around you and you see it, there's a group grieving process happening immediately. And I think that's quite important. And, for anyone who has suffered loss, we all mourn in different ways, but there, especially if you lose a child, because infant mortality was fairly high, even a couple of hundred years ago, let alone thousands of years ago. And many of the burials we see tend to be children. Not all of them, but the earliest hominid burial, or the Homo sapien burial in Africa, is a child. And so a mother losing her child must be absolutely distraught. You can only, so yes, that's why I think it's probably the earliest form of religious belief. Why has someone taken my child away from me? And then initially burials would have been a safety feature, i.e. if you left a dead body lying around, lions or hyenas maybe coming along to try and eat it, and you don't want that to happen, so you bury it out of safety. But then there's also this connection, if you're burying them in a deliberate position and with something, you're obviously hoping that actually their body may have died, but what's in them continues into another life, as sort of some kind of spirituality or soul as such. I mean, there's different words for it, different beliefs of it. A life force is often used. But yes, that's what I think. I think people believed that whilst the body wasn't active, the life force that made that body still existed.